It is really a joy and an honor to be here and to curate this exhibition. Before I dive into the work, I did want to share a little bit about myself, why I'm here, the journey that I took to get here, and also a bit about Rita herself and why this particular exhibition is so important and so meaningful to me as a creative and just as a person in general. So as Stacy mentioned, I am the 2024 Rita Blitt Interdisciplinary Artist Fellow, quite a mouthful. And so I have had the privilege and the honor of working closely with many faculty and students here at Washburn. I've been able to guest lecture and work directly with students. And the work that brought me here to this place is I am a musician and an artist. As Stacy mentioned, I developed Coloratura, which is an instrument that essentially is musical paintbrushes. So this instrument allows me to create art and music at the same time. So every paintbrush that I have plays a different note in a musical scale and is assigned to a different instrument. So because of the work that I have been doing in this space for about 10 years, I got connected with an instructor here, the curator of Moline, Sarah Stepp, Dr. Sarah Stepp, yes. And she had heard about my work. She invited me to guest lecture in one of her classes and then offered me this wonderful fellowship. And one of the students is here as well, the very first guest lecture. And so because of this wonderful opportunity, I got a chance to work directly with students across many departments. So art, of course, and music, but also psychology and education. I gave students the opportunity to try out Coloratura for themselves. And one of their final projects was to give me feedback and recommendations about this instrument. Because it is a new and novel instrument, it was really interesting to get different perspectives about what they would do differently. And then finally, I worked very closely with the Erwin Blitt Fellow, Owen Scott, who is a music composition student. And he and I worked together. I taught him how to use Coloratura. He was actually the first person I ever let use my version instead of the Google version. And together we created an audiovisual performance that was performed right here in December. And the pieces that we created are also a part of this exhibition as well. And so I've been on quite a journey, right, with this fellowship. And it is so meaningful to me that not only I have this opportunity to connect with an academic community, but that the namesake of this fellowship is Rita Blitt, because she has been such an inspiration to me in my creative journey, and her work is just really beautiful. So Rita is an award-winning, world-renowned painter, sculptor, advocate, filmmaker, and she is from Kansas City originally, but now lives in the Bay Area. And she is really known for her really beautiful, lyrical, expressive pieces. She is an abstract artist and really believes that music and dance and gesture and emotion are really the backbone of her pieces. And so she's able to convey such lyrical elements of her pieces just by using paint or sculpture. And so one of the things that's kind of her hallmark is that she is deeply inspired by art and music, which is really the crux of this exhibition. And so the unique thing about art and music in the context of visual arts is that music and dance are ephemeral, they're time-based, right? So when you listen to a piece of music or you see a dance performance, unless you're recording it in some way, it's really gone forever. And what Rita does with her pieces is she captures the essence of that music or that dance, and it makes it really tangible, and it gives a permanence to it, and she's able to express like the core ethos of that music or that dance performance just, again, by using paint. So with her music, or her pieces that were inspired by music, she often listens to music while she's painting, but she's not just listening to it, she really makes herself a part of that composition. as a participant, as its own instrument, and she's moving in time with the piece as well. And the same with dance. As she later in her career began to collaborate with dancers, she, by working with the dancers and seeing their movements, kind of added like a dance vocabulary to her repertoire. And she's able really to convey the fluidity and movement of dancers, again, just on this canvas. One of the unique things about Rita as an artist is that she uses two hands to paint, which is a little bit unusual for artists, but it really is the foundation of her work. When she is painting on a canvas, she's not just painting, but she really describes herself as dancing on the canvas or dancing with two hands. And you can see how her work embodies that. So the name of this exhibition concerning the musical in art is an homage or a nod to a book concerning the spiritual in art by Vasily Kandinsky in the early 20th century. Vasily Kandinsky is known as the father of abstract art, really a pioneer in abstract art. And in his book and in his work, he posited that music was the purest form of artistic expression, and it was subjective, it was devoid of any representational or figurative essence, that in music you could just express pure emotion and really get into the foundational elements of music, so tone and color and harmony. And he said that if you could take those same elements, those same foundational elements, and apply them to the visual art space, so you weren't necessarily drawing a person, but drawing the essence of that person, then it could free you to really express yourself emotionally and free you from the bonds of societal or cultural expectations. And so Rita, and even though she began her career as a representational or figurative artist, painting people, places, and things, she really leaned into that abstract expressionism that's really the hallmark of her work. And so this exhibition features several different sections: music, specifically composers, rhythm, musical expression, movement, and the two pieces that Owen and I created as Blitt Fellows. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into each of those. So the composer series is behind you, and this, which you can turn if you'd like. So it is the largest part of this exhibition, or has the most pieces, and it really is Rita leaning into or listening to different composers and expressing and dancing to their pieces, sometimes in real time. And it spans a wide array of genres. So there is classical music, contemporary composers, folk music, jazz, all sorts of different genres. And as Rita is creating, she really is putting the essence of the music onto the canvas. There is also a section that is specifically devoted to composers who died in the Holocaust. Rita really captured their music and was able to turn that into visual expression. Even though these composers died, she was able to keep their music and their stories living on. And the second section is rhythm. And so these pieces were created the same way the other pieces were created, by really expressing music in visual form. But I really want to distinguish the two sections because, as you can see here, there's a very distinct difference between the rhythm section, or a piece created in inspiration by rhythm, versus a piece created by listening to melodic or harmonic music. So if you can very clearly tell which one is rhythmic and which one is not. And so this is actually Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and then coda drums. Sometimes what Rita would do is listen to the music in her home as she was painting, but she was also such a maverick in that sometimes she would go to musical performances and then kind of quietly draw or sketch or paint in the corner, in the back, or she went to some of the performers' dress rehearsals, so she wasn't bothering them. But I think what's really interesting and really cool about that is by being in the same room as those performers, as those musicians, she wasn't just capturing the essence of the music, but really the energy of the performers itself, and kind of creating this kind of symbiotic relationship as they're watching, as the performers are watching Rita dance and paint and play on the canvas. The next section is one of my favorites, musical expression. And so this isn't necessarily tied to a particular musical composition, but really kind of capturing the essence of music itself. One thing I did want to mention for the past two sections, the composers and the rhythm, you may see QR codes next to each of the pieces, and I paired each piece with the musical composition that it represents. So you can listen and see Beethoven's Fifth Symphony at the same time. But with the musical expression section, because there isn't a particular composition tied to it, I decided to find pieces that really captured the ethos and essence of Rita's pieces. And since I'm from Kansas City and Rita's from Kansas City, I thought it'd be really interesting to find musicians and performers who are also from Kansas City. So this first one is Feeling the Music, and it's paired with one of my favorite Kansas City bands, Making Movies. So I'll play a little bit of this. There we go. So what I really loved about this song and this music, or excuse me, this song and this piece, is that you can see in Rita's piece there's like a vibrancy and vitality and color and expression, and I feel like this song, Con la Vida, really captures all of those components as well. And the second piece for musical expression has a lot of personal significance to me. This is from Rita's Singer series, and so I picked a piece by one of my favorite jazz singers in Kansas City, Molly Hammer. She was a dear friend and mentor to me, and this piece is from her final performance in 2020 before she passed away from cancer. So I really love every section. I really love every piece in this exhibition, which is why I created. Bless you. But my absolute favorite section, and the reason why I am here today, the reason that I even found Rita's work, is because of her work capturing movement and dance. So it's personal to me because I am a dancer. It's a core part of who I am as a creative and a person, and it's probably one of the ways that Rita was best known. She has created so many pieces that are inspired by dance in collaboration with dancers, including the film Cotton and Paint. But for me personally, as a dancer, it's been a part of my life since before I can remember. I did take formal dance classes, tap, jazz, ballet, but I started dancing before, not quite before I started walking, but maybe at the same time. So I grew up in the Black Pentecostal church. If you've ever been to Black Pentecostal church, like, we are dancing, right? It's such a really core part of our culture and our community and our expression. So dance is a way to communicate not only with our inner self, but also with our congregation and also with a higher power. And so I say that to describe myself as a dancer is almost like describing myself as a breather or a walker, right? It's such a core part of who I am, and it bleeds into all of my work. And so if you think about dance, it's really just the embodiment of music. You can look at a dancer, and even if you can't hear the music that they're dancing to, you can intuit what they're dancing to just based on their movements and their rhythm. And because of this, Rita really took a lot of inspiration from working with dancers. She actually taught a dance class, an art class and a dance class with dancers at the University of Florida. And I'll show you a little bit of this. And so she took dancers who were studying at the University of Florida and gave them an instruction to dance on the canvas and to use the movements that they were so used to creating, but to do that on the canvas and to express their choreography and the ethos and emotion of their choreography onto the canvas. And what was interesting is that those students, because they were now painting or expressing themselves from the three-dimensional space to the two-dimensional space, they found different ways of moving their bodies, different ways of choreographing, and some of them did not consider themselves artists before this, but because of Rita's work and because she was able to help them kind of explore and expand their process, they were able to tap into something deeper in their creative practice. So one of the projects that Rita is best known for, and the way that I found her, is through a film called Caught in Paint. And in this particular film, it's just a short film, she collaborated with the Parsons Dance Company by David Parsons, who she met here in Kansas City. And essentially, she had a big glass canvas and dancers. And as the dancers were moving and jeting and leaping behind that glass canvas, Rita would capture their movements in real time and really again, capture like the core, the essence of their choreography. And what's really interesting is that as she was painting and as she continued to paint, the dancers began to respond to her brushstrokes entirely. So as she is dancing on the canvas, in a way the dancers are dancing with her, even though there is that glass or mylar piece between them, and even though she is using her hands and there's the paint between them. In a way, it's a bit of a duet or a trio. And as Rita is painting and dancing, one of the things she says very often is that she sees her painting not as just painting, but dancing with her hands, dancing on the canvas. And that's one of the reasons why she decided to paint with two hands. If you have ever seen a dancer, right? Dancers are moving their whole bodies, with the exception of maybe Irish jig dancers, right? But everyone else, they're moving their whole bodies, and so Rita embodying that dance element and incorporating that into her art, began to paint with two hands as well, with really remarkable and really beautiful results. And so I saw Caught in Paint 8 years ago, and I remember exactly where I was. I was at a luncheon with Arts KC, which is a fantastic arts organization in Kansas City, and Rita was there presenting about her work, and they showed us this film in its entirety, and I just remember just like ugly crying, like openly weeping into my little chicken salad at this luncheon, because I had never seen anyone capture music and art in such a beautiful and profound way. The way that she was expressing herself and the way she talked about her process really spoke to where I was as an artist and musician at the time. So 8 years ago, I had just really started using my musical paintbrushes and exploring Coloratura. And as I mentioned before, I am a dancer and primarily a musician as well. I decided to create these musical paintbrushes because I wanted a way to kind of embody music in a visual way, much like Rita. I wanted to be able to create a visual element to my music in a way that was still like intimate and spontaneous and really kind of mirrored what I was able to create in my solo singer-songwriter performances. So I was exploring Coloratura, and as a musician, learning a new instrument, there's always a learning curve. And I felt comfortable after a while, but the challenging part was that I did not consider myself an artist at all. The last time I had taken art classes was in grade school, and I found myself very intimidated and very frustrated by this goal, like this almost like this burden of having to not only create music, but to also incorporate a visual element to it in a way that felt acceptable or representational, and trying to do both of them was incredibly frustrating. And I almost gave up on this project entirely until I saw Cotton Paint, and that film just profoundly changed me. And after watching the film, Rita was at the luncheon where we watched it, and I said, I gotta talk to this lady, like she's so amazing. And everybody else at the luncheon thought the same thing, so we were there for, almost an hour, and I remember just like kind of shyly waiting in line to talk to her. And then when I did talk to her, it was just like blah, 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 word vomit. Like I was trying to convey so much about who I was and what I do and what that film meant to me in like 30 seconds, and she was like, whoa. So she was very kind, very sweet, but perhaps a little overwhelmed. And when I left, I thought, I blew this. I missed my chance, my opportunity to really connect and share this core part of my creative work with someone who is doing the same. And so that was 8 years ago. And so when I got the email from Dr. Stepp 8 years ago that not only I'd have this fellowship opportunity, but that the fellowship was endowed by Rita herself, it was, I can't even put into words how much it meant to me. And of course, I'm a crier, so I ugly cried again. But I didn't have a chicken salad to cry into. I actually cried into like a little chocolate cupcake because it was actually my birthday that day. And so like, what a beautiful birthday gift. I feel like Rita is the gift that keeps on giving. And so because of that inspiration and because she was the person that really inspired me to keep going, my art has expanded. And so for the past 10 years, I've had amazing opportunities to perform and share my work all over the world. I've expanded my artist career to not only painting on 2D surfaces or paint on canvas, but also exploring visual water marbling or liquid light shows, which is a part of the performance that I did here at the Mulvane with Owen. And so it has been such a joy working with Rita as a part of this fellowship, but also as a part of curating this exhibition. She's truly a delight and so patient and so kind, and it's been a joy listening to her stories and being able to spend not just 30 seconds with her, but hours. And the first time we really we got a chance to talk on Zoom. I think we talked for 3.5 hours and still had more to talk about because her work is so fascinating. Her work really is about the process of creation, and it's so deeply changed the way that I approach my art and my music. And so Coloratura, my musical paintbrush project, is a bit unique in that I am creating art and music at the same time, but because of learning more about Rita's work and leaning more into an art practice that really celebrates and champions process over product, I've been able to really transform the way that I approach both art and music. So with my musical paintbrushes, I am getting visual feedback and auditory feedback at the same time. So when I make a brush stroke on the canvas, not only am I seeing the color, but I'm also hearing that musical note. And so as a musician, my instinct is to listen, right? To listen with my ears, and as I'm painting, I'm thinking about, the scads of Western music theory that's been beaten into me for the past, decade or so. And so I'm thinking, okay, does this note, does it fit into the scale? Does it fit into the mode? Is the rhythm right? And so I was primarily prioritizing music, even as I was painting. And after time, and really inspired by Rita's work, I really started to see my music. And so as I was painting, instead of thinking, oh, I need to add an A flat to this composition, I would think, this composition needs yellow. I really need some yellow on the canvas. And sometimes yellow was completely out of the key signature. Sometimes it sounded really dissonant and weird, but it was like the painting was calling to that particular element, was calling for yellow. And hearing yellow made me take the piece in a completely different direction that I never would have explored had I just been sitting at the piano or playing guitar. So it really expanded my musical practice as well. And so working with Rita and really learning about who she is, what she does, how she does it, is really foundational, really core to not only my artistic practice, but I think to artists and musicians and creatives from various different disciplines. We are, as you know, in the AI age, and artificial intelligence is being integrated into our lives so quickly and so profoundly. And so it is raising questions about what is the role of human creativity in the wake of so much AI creativity. How do we distinguish, how do we promote our value as artists when there is an artificial intelligence agent that can create a perfectly technical painting or a pitch perfect song in just seconds. How do we distinguish the two, and how do we get our audiences to distinguish the two? Not that one is bad, they both serve a purpose, but we as human creatives have this obligation, but really an opportunity to demonstrate our worth as artists and demonstrate that even when people can't distinguish between the two or don't even care to distinguish between the two, what we as human creatives can champion is our process, the how and the why of why we create. And the how isn't necessarily, how technical we are, how proficient we are, how perfectly we can detail every little bit of our painting, but the how is really in what we do, how we created it, and the blood and sweat and tears that went into creating this painting, or what inspired it, or what led us, what sort of curious path we went down to get to this particular piece. And the why is important too, because art it's really more than just pretty paintings on a wall or sculpture. It's more than just decoration. It is communication. It is telling a story about the human experience. And again, I do not want to disparage artificial intelligence at all, but I think that we as humans have this wonderful opportunity to really explore what it means to be human, right? When we have this entity that is coming up right beside us, right behind us, to make us really question that. If you look at her pieces, in and of themselves, they are visually striking, they are beautiful, but by knowing the context in which she created them, knowing that she really is dancing on the canvas or collaborating with musicians and percussionists or dancers, just brings so much more meaning and so much more beauty to that particular practice. And again, as I mentioned before, she has had a profound impact, not only on my creative practice, but also who I am as a person. I have learned to lean into experimentation and play and learn from failure, and know that actually one of my coworkers once said that L is not for loss, it's for lesson. From a quote that I'm forgetting now. I think it's a Kid Cudi song. But I really leaned into that, and that's really the only way that you can grow as an artist, as a person, especially as I'm doing things that are very novel and experimental. I have to give myself permission, not just to fail, because I think that's a value statement, but I have to give myself permission to play. Just like Rita was dancing on the canvas without any expectation or regard for what it would look like. She trusted the process, she trusted her body, she trusted her intuition, and knew that whatever resulted is what should be and would really be the representation of her emotion and her creative spirit. So I am so thankful to have this opportunity to curate this exhibition. I strongly encourage you afterwards to not only look at the pieces, but also take advantage of the QR codes that are next to each piece, so you can really explore not only what her paintings look like, but also in a way what they sound like as well. And there's also an iPad over here that has a playlist of those videos. So I am going to do a brief performance with Coloratura inspired by Rita's work. Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here to share this exhibition of my work and the words and artistry of Camry and Ivory. I am so sorry that I could not be there with you, but I hope that this gallery visit today will inspire you to let your hands dance on the paper. But remember, if you dance on paper with two hands at once, be sure to tape down the paper so the paper doesn't fly away while you dance on the paper. Happy creating and best wishes to all